I thought I'd kick things off today with one of the biggest issues I'm finding new DJs have. They turn up to their first ever club show, and when something doesn't quite go the way they expect it to, or perhaps the gear's different to the gear that they're used to, or maybe they can't even load their songs onto the players, they have a freak out. And in short, they don't create a very good first impression, and the people running the parties are probably reluctant to work with them ever again. So for this reason, this video is all about what you can expect when you turn up to a club, the things that could possibly go wrong, and how to handle whatever comes your way in complete style. Without a doubt, the best way to assure that you're prepared is to arrive early and check out the DJ gear before the night even starts. Now, I would suggest asking the promoter if you can come in a little bit early and just take a minute to have a look around, have a look at the equipment, perhaps go in, load your USBs, and just make sure that everything's working so that when you come on to play, you can come on with confidence. Now, going in early, it allows you to check your USBs loading, okay? That would probably be one of the big things, which I'll go into a second. And it also gives you a chance to get familiar with the gear. Now, I find most of the issues come from DJs turning up 5 minutes before their set, not being used to the gear, and then under the pressure of a quick changeover between DJs, they end up stressing out and, in short, create a bad first impression. You want to come on with confidence, and this means knowing the gear that you're going to play on in advance. Now, most of the time, everything will go great, so there's nothing to really worry about. But if something does go wrong, I reckon it's probably going to come down to one of two things. Either you didn't prepare your music properly and you're unable to load your songs, or perhaps the gear is actually playing up. And it can happen. When you think about it, you're in a club, people have drinks around the gear all the time, so stuff can go wrong. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to run through a quick checklist of the main things that can go wrong and what you can do to just harm minimalization, I guess, just taking it in your stride and just being prepared, so that means you can always turn up and play at your best. So the main things that can go wrong, in my opinion, are usually equipment related. So now some of this could be human error, or it could actually be that the equipment in the club is old and it's starting to play up. Now, these are some of the things that you want to watch out for. Firstly, determine which channels on the mixer, like the equipment's connected to. So you want to kind of try and turn up, and I guess then you load your USB, hit play, see where the lights are coming up, and if you can't see signal on the mixer, you just want to check the cables are connected properly. So you just look for the RCA cable that connects the player to the deck, and then if still no sound, right, you just check that the input selector at the top here of the channel that you're using matches the input that the wires connected to at the back. Now, once you've got signal and you can see that, right, the next thing is, say you hit play and you haven't got any sound, just check the crossfaders either in the center or it's turned off. Like if you turn up and say the crossfader's on this side and you turn up and hit play and you bring that up and you can't hear anything, well, maybe the crossfader's just on. So that's a common thing that people do. So just make sure the crossfader's turned off by putting the crossfader assign onto maybe all the channels, or just making sure the crossfader's in the center of the whole time. Now, if you still can't hear anything and say the crossfader's like completely turned off and you can see signal on the mixer, I guess just make sure your volume faders are up, make sure the trim's up, like the gain on the channels that you're using, and make sure the master volume's up. And if you're still not getting sound, well, if you're at home, go check your speakers are turned on and turned up. But if not, if you're not getting sound in the club and you've got the crossfader turned off, you've got the volume up, you can see signals, the trim's up, and the master volume's up, I would then go get the venue, because that means they've probably got their speakers somewhere and maybe they're not even turned on. Okay, so the next thing that possibly could go wrong is that maybe, right, you probably didn't load your music properly onto your USB. So here's the thing, generally the equipment will usually just be people haven't connected it properly, or maybe the volume's not working, but if, say, you have a problem, you haven't put your music on the USB properly, what's going to happen is you go to basically put your USB in and you go to load it, and two things can happen. Firstly, you can't see your waveforms or your actual BPM, and that means you just haven't run your music through Rekordbox. Or secondly, you did put your music through rekordbox, but maybe you played around with the actual folders, like the Pioneer contents folders and the Pioneer folders on the USB itself. Maybe started deleting stuff, and that means you've corrupted the USB, and that means then when you go to load the song, it comes up and says media file collapse. That can happen. So in short, when loading music onto the USB, do it all within rekordbox, and if you want to delete stuff from the USB, also do it within rekordbox. Now, another thing that could happen is you turn up and maybe you can't see any of your cue points. Just remember, right, when you're preparing your music in rekordbox, there are two types of cues. There's memory cues, which are compatible on all club gear, and then there's hot cues. Now, if you're going to set hot cues, and to be honest, the gear maybe doesn't read hot cues, then you're not going to be able to see your cue points. So again, when playing clubs, I would most definitely be setting memory cue points in rekordbox. Another thing that could happen too is that maybe you go to load your song and you go to load it. As soon as you load it, it starts playing straight away. So what you want to do is, if you don't want that to be the case, just make sure that the auto cue button is turned on. So that will be over here. It's in time mode. You just hold that down until auto cue's on, and that means when you load your song, basically it's just going to go straight to that first beat or your first cue point, which is pretty cool. It's pretty convenient. Now, most of this is just knowing your gear, and the chances are it will all be set up for you, and you simply need to turn up and put your USB in and you're ready to go. But if you're the first DJ, I would arrive 30 minutes early, and then you can check it all out in your own time. And if you're playing after another DJ, well, if it's working for them, so the chances are you should just be able to go in and load your music and you're good to go. But generally speaking, if the gear is playing up, the DJ before you should let you know what to expect and how to deal with it. Now, equipment aside, other issues you may experience are usually venue related and can be political. For instance, perhaps the promoter forgot to give your guest list to the door girl, and the door girl charged all your friends full price. Or perhaps you were promised drink cards, and when you asked, no one knew anything about them, right? So anyway, this kind of thing is very common. And in reality, you have two options. Number one, you kick up a stink and risk being seen as annoying and not booked again. Or you simply accept that this is part of working with venues and do your best to act diplomatically, and instead of focusing on the problems, try to keep your focus on finding a solution. Now, if you're reasonable and cool to work with, the chances are the venue will want to work with you in the future. I guess it comes down to what's more important, defending your rights or playing live. Now, it is said for any kind of relationship to work, you must focus on what you appreciate about the other person. And the truth is, you may not even know the full story. Perhaps the promoter is experiencing pressure from the venue, and the venue refused to give the promoter their promised drink cards, which puts them between a rock and a hard place. Your best bet is perhaps to laugh it off and say, perhaps I should buy you a drink then, right? Here's the thing, developing a good relationship with the promoter and the event staff is more important than a couple of drink cards. And if your friends are forced to pay, just explain to your friends it must have been a mistake on the door, and in future perhaps even arrive early and check with the door staff that everything is in order before the doors even open. So in short, if you want a little checklist to assure that everything goes great on your end at least, number one, definitely run your music through rekordbox. Now, if you're not sure how to do that, check out the rekordbox video we have. Also, make sure that you take your own headphones and you have a 3.5mm stereo jack and 2 USB sticks. And lastly, arrive early to get to know the gear in advance. All in all, don't let the things that could go wrong worry you. Turn up and expect things to go well. Now, sure, it's great to know what can go wrong and be prepared, but worrying isn't going to achieve anything. It is said that those that worry before it actually happens worry too much. So instead, chin up, chest out, smile, and use every show as an opportunity to connect to bring as many people together as possible. Personally, I get nervous before every show, but I find the nerves actually help me to stay focused. But being nervous and stressing out are two different things. Stressing out is not going to solve anything, and it can also stress out the people around you, making you not fun to be around. So instead, let go, relax, do your best to be prepared. And when you think about your upcoming show, expect good things to happen. Now, if you're feeling a sense of excitement and you're optimistic about your show, you are 100% on the right path. But if you really are freaking out, try to let go a little bit and just put things into perspective. At the end of the day, people are there to have fun. They're there to have a good time. And the best way to get your crowd on your side is to also look like you're having fun, even if you're not. So just force yourself to smile, focus on the positives, and soon you'll start to feel confident in next to no time at all. I also suggest asking your friends to come and support you, as having a supportive network will really help you to feel more relaxed, and it can also really help build the atmosphere in the room. The fact is, the more people there to see you, the bigger the atmosphere, and the bigger the atmosphere, the more people that are going to take notice. And the more people that take notice, ultimately, the more successful you're going to be as a DJ. Now, in next week's video, I'm going to talk through some of the more political things you can expect when working with venues, like playing to your time slot, turning up with the right kind of music for that event. And also I have a video on how to handle nerves and appear confident, always creating a really good impression so everybody loves you. Plus, I also have videos coming up on how to do back-to-back sets, perform the perfect changeover. Plus, there is a whole section on marketing with tips on how to develop a brand that people will remember. Now, if you're new to DJing and not sure where to start, check out my free video series on my website, where I have videos on finding music, choosing the right gear, an equipment walkthrough, the mixing process made easy, plus videos on how to approach venues for shows. Now, for that, just check out the link below. Now, at the end of the day, you're not expected to perform the perfect set, and if you do make small mistakes, the chances are the crowd won't even pick up on it. But to put things into perspective for you, when I was younger, I played a set in a very popular nightclub. And this was pre-USB days, right? So I was using a DVS system where I had connected my computer to the club gear and was using my computer to load the songs. Now, mid-set, my computer crashed, and while the computer slowly reloaded, there was no music for over 5 minutes. Now, honestly, this is a big F up, right? And without my support network, meaning people there to see me, it honestly would have been a disaster. So if you do make mistakes, right, trust me, they're probably pretty small, like all things considering, right? And trust me, even if you do, it's not that big a deal. And I honestly hope this video has helped prepare you for the worst, so honestly, you can play at your very best. Anyway, thanks for your time. Subscribe now so you know when my next video is live. And please take a moment to share your own experiences with playing live and any advice that you may have for beginners.